With every relationship that I've had that has lasted more than a month, it has only been a matter of time before she moves in with me. Now, I've never actually asked a girlfriend to move in with me before, but like osmosis, there seems to be a slow gradient of transition, starting with a toothbrush and a pair of emergency knickers, and her actually living here. And why is it always the girlfriend that moves in with the boyfriend? I'm not alone in this. I've checked with all my other male friends and it always follows this pattern. Well, actually there is the exception to prove the rule, and in this case my mate was 30 and still living with his parents, where she had her own house with a beer fridge, so I don't really think that counts. But before we go any further, I would just like to point out that I don't mind any of this. In fact, I enjoy the company. But it's not going to stop me from making a few observations on this situation. I don't like clutter, and every surface in my house is free from unnecessary objects in a way that makes the Spartans look like the Mr. Man, Mr. Messy on a bad day. It's not that I'm overly utilitarian, and I definitely don't suffer from OCD. I know this, I've had myself tested 239 times. The actual reason is because I'm lazy. Less clutter makes the home easier to keep clean. But all this changes when your girlfriend moves in with you. Slowly but surely, previously clear surface tops fill with pots and lotions, especially if they're situated in the prime location of being near a mirror. Just how many products does it take to maintain you girls? And what did primitive cave women use? Because I'm sure the likes of Estee Lauder and L'Oreal weren't around when our ancestors were wrestling saber-toothed tigers for their supper. Although to be fair, from the anthropological pictures I've seen, cave woman does look practically the same as caveman, so I'm willing to allow defilement of my surface space if that's what you revert to without regular maintenance. When I was young and foolish, I thought that women were perfect beings, far from the burping, farting, ball-scratching general crudeness that constitutes the male counterpart of the species. I was wrong. When you live with a woman, you find out that they're just like the rest of us. This alone does not upset me. No. What upsets me is that the air of mystery is lost, and that it could have been maintained with far less effort than it took to break it. Let me give you some examples. To start with, I accept that some women use those chicken fillet-like things to pad out their bras. But do you have to leave them on my bedside table? If ever I had the need to pad out my pants with a poultry-like phallic extension, you can bet good money I'm not going to be leaving it on your dressing table every night. And girls, please don't tell me what you plan to get up to when you nip off to the loo. I had subconsciously always known that women needed to use the toilet just like men. But knowing something in the back of my mind and being presented with the cold hard facts of a description are two totally different things. So phrases like, I'm just going for a slash, or I've just pebble dashed the porcelain, will definitely reduce my willingness to have sex with you in the future. And finally, and I can't stress this enough, I do not want you showing me your party trick of squirting water out of your baby cannon when we share a bath together. Do you see how these little things just might ruin your mystique in the eyes of men? Don't get me wrong, I'm all for an open and honest relationship. But face it girls, your boyfriends masturbate regularly. Do you really want to know how often and over who? So let's keep the openness and honesty to things that won't spoil the relationship. And then comes sharing my bed with a woman. Now, contrary to the male bedfellow stereotype, I don't have a problem with cuddling. I really rather enjoy the body contact. And neither do I have the problem with the laying on the arm thing. You know, the one where the arm is trapped between you while you're spooning. I resolved that dilemma years ago, and now neatly tuck it underneath her neck while cupping her breast, like so. Give it a try. So what is the problem I have with sharing my bed with a woman? Well, it's hair. Most of the women I've dated have had long hair, and the problem with this is that when I share a bed with them, at some point during the night the hair seems to take a dislike to me, and I wake up with it either wrapped around my neck trying to strangle me, or filling my mouth trying to choke me. Have you ever heard of a man being strangled or choked to death by his lover's hair? Well, no, me neither, but in those oxygen-deprived moments I get the feeling that I'm going to be the first. However, my hair problems in bed don't just stop with head hair. I also have a problem with... Yep, you guessed it, lady leg hair. Now, although I knew women's legs had the potential to become hairy, I'd never actually seen an unshaved pair until my early 20s. Boy, is that a revelation. You know that they can become hairy, but you don't expect goat leggings hairy. Now, a couple of my previous girlfriends have told me that during the winter they don't bother to shave their legs with the justification that I'll be the only one looking at them. Fair enough, I don't bother to exercise during the winter for a very similar reason. So if you girls want some time out to go fallow, then that's fine by me. As it's not really the look that bothers me, it's the feel. Initially the legs become prickly, and as I mentioned, the shaving holiday always occurs when the weather is getting cold. So your partner wants to press up as much flesh against you as possible. It's like sharing a bed with thistles that have got segregation issues. But luckily the itchy stage only lasts for a few days, and I guess I can put up with it as it's payback for all the times I forget to shave my face and inflict lower stubble rash on her. The real problem is a few weeks after the itchy stage. Now, when I take my trousers off, I look like I'm half Wookiee from the waist down. This, my endocrinologist assures me, is perfectly normal, and I am not turning into a werewolf. So if we both have hairy legs, then what's the problem? Well, around week 2, my ex's leg hair had reached the length necessary to fasten onto mine in a manner approximating Velcro. It's like going to bed with flypaper. The more you try and struggle, the more you become stuck to them. Now, I'm a light sleeper, and a fidgety one at that. So every time I moved, the ripping sensation as our legs peeled apart woke me up, depriving me of much needed beauty sleep. Now, some of you may be thinking that if my next girlfriend wants some well-deserved time out from shaving her legs, if I want to avoid the Velcro effect, why don't I share the responsibility and shave my legs? Well, let's consider it. At the time, I didn't shave my legs because I felt that if I shaved my legs while my girlfriend's got hairier and hairier, I'd become somehow emasculated. But when you think about it, emasculation is a small price to pay if I can get some sleep. So should it be my leg hair that blunts my Mach 3 blades for a change? Well, unfortunately, I can see this backfiring too, because I imagine that the sight of the pale gleaming chicken legs that would constitute my shaving pins could put anybody off and result in an instant dumping. So with all things considered, the next time a girlfriend says that she's not going to shave her legs for the winter, I'm going to offer to stump up the money so she can go for laser hair removal. Although I've just had a thought, since this video is in the public domain, that conclusion may result in me being exploited this winter by a string of hairy gold diggers.